Greetings, welcome to another Deckard Games YouTube video game anniversary thing. It was the year 2000, after the panic surrounding the transition from 1999 to the year 2000, where machines could see it as 1900 that would send mankind back to the Stone Age. Machines would rise to power, riots on the streets. Dang it, nothing really happened. The world did not implode, everyday life stayed as it was, and just some minor issues were worth mentioning. So everything was just like it was. We, gamers and computer lovers, needed something new, something to end this boredom. Luckily, one can always rely on Mr. Will Wright to bring something completely new to the gaming scene, and that was exactly what happened with The Sims. Developed by Maxis and published by Electronic Arts in February 4th of 2000 for Windows PCs. The Sims, the people simulator from the creator of SimCity. What? From the creator of my favorite game, I'm immediately excited. The back of the box lets you know that is indeed a game from Mr. Will Wright. Create and control your own simulated people. Create, build, buy, live. I guess that's all there is about life. Thank you, capitalism. Looking inside the big slim box, we find the game in a very blue CD-ROM that contains the game. A reference card with some quick references on how to play the game, and the black and white manual covering all sorts of different things like installing the game, the different modes within the game, stuff like marriage and babies, and even a troubleshooting your family section that can help in any of your family feuds. The story of The Sims creation starts in a rather sad way. After seeing his house burn during the Oakland-Berkeley fires in 1991, Mr. Will Wright was forced to find a new one and rebuild his life. Being a passionate guy about city building, Mr. Will Wright always liked architecture also. Seeing the work around his new house, the idea of a game where players could build their life from scratch began to develop. He then pitched this same idea to Maxis in 1993, but it was rejected. The people at Maxis saw the project as too ambitious, not only for computers at the time, but also for the public in general. A couple of years passed, and now with Electronic Arts in the middle, Mr. Will Wright proposed it again in 1995, this time with success. EA Games accepted the project and named it Project X, renaming it later to Dollhouse. Half a decade later, the game would see the daylight, entitled The Sims. To put it simple, there is no main objective to The Sims. It is open-ended, and the players are free to decide their own objectives. Want to live without a purpose? Sure. Want to take control of your Sims and find happiness? Go ahead, do as you please. There are, however, plenty of secondary objectives such as education, career, and relationship success, even though there are no rewards for doing this, just your personal satisfaction and stuff. Of course, there are some biological needs that you have to take care, such as sleep, if you don't want your sim to fall on the floor and sleep in a puddle of his own urine, eat, if you don't want your sim to, die of starvation, some regular sim pees and dumps, and so forth, just like in life. And The Sims begins at the beginning with the game offering players pre-made characters to control. Of course, any gamer doesn't put up with that, so it is time to create your Sims. Creating a Sim consists on creating a family that will share the same roof. Or, if you're a total pervert like me, you will surround yourself with all those girls that got away, hoping that this will end in a kind of Sim orgy. While creating your Sims, one can choose stuff like the name, gender, skin, age, and personality. After that, it is time to dress up your Sims, because you don't want to walk around naked. Or do you? And after all that, it comes the best part within the game. In my modest opinion, of course, building and furnishing a house for our Sims to live. This mode is absolutely awesome. You can build a simple and humble house or go completely crazy and build a wacky, out-of-this-world domain. Regardless of how many Sims share the same roof, the player starts with the same amount of money, that being 20,000 simoleons. Yep, simoleon is the currency used on The Sims and in all the Sim nation. Where can the Sims get more money? Well, they gotta go to work for it. Because leaving bills unpaid will earn you a visit from the repo man taking away your stuff or getting your water and electricity system shut. And you know what that means, they can take away your PC, or there's no electricity, there's no PC, so you gotta take care of your PC. Of course, one can always use the very handy shit for money, because, well, it's about real life, isn't it? So screw it, shitting it is. Once you have your house all set and ready, well, it's time to move in and let the Sims start doing their Sim things. And as mentioned before, there is no real goal when playing The Sims. You take control of your Sims and do as you please. You can control the Sims by giving instructions on what to do, either by interacting with other Sims or with objects such like the television, the stove or the toilet. The player can only control his Sims, and while other Sims appear in the game, you can only interact with them, which is mandatory for a healthy social life and gaining popularity within your neighborhood. The Sims have a limited amount of free will, and while in control of a particular Sim, the same can decide it wants to do something different, like going to the can, ignoring the player's commands. The artificial intelligence within the game is pretty advanced, making the Sims respond to outside events and conditioned by themselves. The player's intervention is needed to keep the Sims on the right track, especially when it comes to finding a job and paying the bills. There are some limitations though, for example, when it comes to aging. While newborn babies eventually become children, they will never become adults, and adults never age, therefore they never die of old age. There is also no concept of weekends. I guess someone is a workaholic and can only see work days. This means school and work every day. Can you imagine that? And by the way, want to skip work? Good luck with that. Skip 2 days and you end up fired. Going to work is also pretty basic, or if we want it, we can put it in another way. It is simply non-existent. Your Sim would simply disappear for the rest of the day and show up later with some extra simoleons to spend. As mentioned before, the player needs to keep an eye in the needs graphics located at the bottom of the screen and also make some decisions. Stuff like hunger, social, fun, comfort, hygiene, bladder, room, and energy. These same needs are filled by performing everyday activities such as using the toilet or using the fridge to get some food. While the Sims do not die of old age, they can get sick and eventually die. So you better keep an eye on those graphics because the Sims don't speak any known language. Yes, the language within the Sim universe was invented from scratch. Languages take generations to develop, from a simple verbal association to a form of communication. This was crucial for Mr. Wheelwright. In order to appeal to any player around the world, the Sims had to communicate with one another and with the player in a way that was recognizable. And so was born Simlish, from a mishmash of different existing languages that turned into gibberish words that, while impossible to translate, are still able to transmit ideas, and it's up to the player's imagination to decipher any conversation. This not only meant that the game didn't need to be translated, therefore saving money, but also meant that the players could easily empathize with the game, not hitting any language barrier. And so the Sims go on their normal day-to-day life because, well, there is no real failure. Rather than death itself, which may end up with a nice ghost hunting your sim house, the game has no end and no failure. One can play The Sims forever, and I really mean forever. So why does a game with no real defined purpose and objectives, with no ending, with no best or worst way of playing, end up being one of the best-selling PC games of all time? I believe the one-word answer is freedom. Yep, The Sims was a whole different thing when it launched. Promises of a real-life simulation from the creator of SimCity was a real hype. While not being a true-life simulator, if that's even possible, The Sims brought to the table a kind of life that one would want to live. A gameplay experience as never seen before, a video game about daily activities that could be approached in any order or fashion. It was freedom for the mind. It was life outside real life. It was things that one couldn't but wanted to do. It was a real and good excuse for guys like me, who enjoy games for men with balls of steel, to play a dolls-like video game and not be bothered about it. All the Sim universe created by Maxis were based on real life, from cities to farms to ants, the list goes on, but never one of those really touched life itself. The Sims made it different. The Sims made it about life. The Sims made it about people. A few expansions were released on subsequent years that introduced more content to the original game. 7 in total, like Living It Up, Update and Superstar among others. If you want to try the first Sim experience, I advise on buying something like the complete collection with the original game and all 7 expansions. Not only because it's cheaper than the big box version, but also with some minor tweaks, you can play it on modern systems. Fire took down Mr. Wheelwright's home, but fire, the element which brings life, was also the catalyst for one of the most brilliant minds in the video game industry to shake things up once again. And for that, I take my hat off to Mr. Wheelwright and to The Sims. And so if you enjoyed this video, please check the others here on the channel because, well, I have quite a few that you can also enjoy. Click that subscribe button if you haven't done so because your support is very much appreciated. Remember that you can also follow me in social media, this new thing on the interwebs for some social media stuff. As always, thank you very much for watching this, and until my next video, take care.